Good evening, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Albright, and tonight we're working on Module 5, Lesson 33. And our objective for this evening is to subtract a mixed number from a mixed number. Now, in class today, we worked on subtracting a fraction from a mixed number, so this is just making it a little bit more difficult. The first strategy that I'm going to show you is counting up. So in order to count up, I'm going to start with my smaller part, 2 5/8, and then I'm going to count up to 4 3/8 so I can figure out what the difference between these numbers is. So because my fractional unit is eighths, I'm going to break my number line into eighths. And I'm going to put 2 5/8 on my number line. Okay, now to count up, I want to see how many eighths does it take to get to the next whole, and the answer is 3/8. So 2 5/8 plus 3/8 gets me to 3. And now I'm going to see how many wholes does it take me to get to the next whole. So that's plus 1 whole. So I can add 1 to get from 3 to 4. And now I need to arrive at 4 3/8. So I need to add 1, 2, 3/8 more. So to get from 4 to my final answer, 4 3/8, I need to add an additional 3/8. So now all I want to do is add these three parts together, 3/8 plus 1 whole plus 3/8, and I get 1 whole and 6/8, which is my final answer. And that represents the difference between 4 3/8 and 2 5/8, the space between them. As another example, I have 1 8/12 and 2 15/12. So again, I'm going to start with my smaller number, 1 8/12, and I'm going to ask myself, how many more 12ths do I need to get to my next whole, which would be 2? And the answer is 4 12ths. So I'm going to add 4 12ths to get to my next whole, which is 2. And then to get to my final number, where I need to end up, I need to add 5 more 12ths. So then if I put these two parts together, 4 12ths and 5 12ths, I end up with 9 12ths. So the difference between these two numbers, or the space between them on the number line, would be 9 12ths. The next strategy that we're going to learn about is how to subtract the whole and then decompose the whole number. So to do this problem, I'm going to start with my larger whole number and subtract the other whole number. So I'm going to start with just 11 minus 2. So that gives me 9 1/5 minus 3/5. So I've already taken care of subtracting my 2 out of this. So now to decompose, or to subtract 3/5 from 1/5, that is just like the problems we were doing in class today. And so I can decompose the 9, so it is 8 5/5. I can put the 5/5 together with the 1/5 we already had and make that 8 6/5 minus 3/5. And 6 minus 3 is 3, so my final answer is 8 3/5. Okay, one more example with that method is 4 1/8 minus 1 7/8. So I'm going to start with subtracting just the whole number, 4 minus 1, and that gives me 3. So now I have 3 1/8 minus 7/8. And I can decompose the 3, so it is 2 8/8. Put those 8/8 together with that 1, so I end up with 2 9/8 minus 7/8. And 9 minus 7 is 2, so I end up with 2 2/8. And the last method that I'm going to show you is how to decompose the fractional part. So this strategy is going to start the same way as the last one, where I subtract the whole number, 5 minus 3, and so I end up with 2 wholes, so 2 3/10 minus 7/10. So I've already subtracted this 3 away from my whole. Now, to use the decomposing the fractional part, I want to look at this fraction, 2 3/10, and ask myself, how much do I need to subtract to get to the next whole number? So I want to get down to 2. So in order to get down to 2, I need to subtract 3/10 from that, and then that would get me to 2. So now with my fraction here, my 7/10, I'm going to take 3/10 out because I've already subtracted that amount, and then I'm going to see what I have left. And I have 4/10 left. So now I need to subtract 4/10. So 2 minus 4/10. If I think of this as 1 and 10/10, 10 minus 4 is 6. So this ends up being 1 and 6/10. So this is just another strategy on how you can decompose different parts of these fractions to get to your answer. I will show you this strategy with one. Here we have 4 and 1/7 minus 2 and 4/7. Again, I'm going to start with the whole numbers, 4 minus 2, and I'm going to rewrite this as 2 and 1/7 minus 4/7. And again, for this one, I'm going to work on decomposing the fractional part. So if I do my arrow chart, I've got 2 and 1/7, and I'm going to ask myself in my mind, how many sevenths do I need to take away to get to my next whole, which would be 2. So to get from 2 and 1/7 to 2, I need to subtract 1/7. Now I need to keep going because I have 4 to subtract. So since I have 4 to subtract, I already subtracted 1/7. I have 3/7 more. So I can think of this as 2 and 7/7, and then subtract that 3/7 from the 7/7. So 7 minus 3 is 4/7. I'm sorry, I'm subtracting 3/7, so that gets me to 1 and 4/7. So that's my final answer, 1 and 4/7. Now, keep in mind that the goal is not to master all 3 of these strategies. I want you to find the strategy that makes sense and works for you. It is now your turn to try it. And go back and rewatch the section of the video that you think makes the most sense. Pick one strategy. Use your scratch paper to solve this problem, 4 and 1/8 minus 7 and 1/8. The next problem is 3 and 6/8 minus 2 and 2/8. Now we have 7 and 5/12 minus 3 and 9/12. And finally, 4 and 1/7 minus 2 and 4/7. Again, use any strategy that works for you. Bring all your questions that you have back to class. We will continue working on this tomorrow, and have a great night.